Welcome to Prime Space, Advanced Conversations in Coaching, with your host, Elias Scultori. Coaches, continuing with our series on practice and business development, I have another guest. Mike Alice is here to join us. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Elias. Thanks for letting me join the podcast. I'm excited to be here.
Ever since I started planning for this series on business development, I had you in mind because I know of your success, I know of your story, and I would love for you to share some of your experience with our listeners because I believe that everybody can benefit from your experience. So thank you so much for being here.
You are welcome. I'm excited to share, and I hope something is of value.
So, listeners, for you, so that you know a little bit about Mike, Mike is calling from Chicago, where he lives with his wife, Alexis, and he has a beautiful family with 4 kids, ranging from 25 to 16 years old, which is wonderful. I've seen pictures, and I've met a couple of your kids. So that's a wonderful family there. Mike started his career by studying psychology, then spending some time in youth ministry, and then being in corporate America 25 years leading sales teams and very successful in that corporate career for 25 years there. And during that time, he says that he was exposed to executive coaching and he's realized that coaching was a true intersection of his skills, his passion, and what he saw as a need in the world. I love that combination, Mike. And then 4 years ago, he jumped. He left corporate America and he started his own practice. And let me tell you, listeners, a very successful practice. He currently leads O2 Leadership, and is a practice that he does together with his close friend Brad. I always like to share something personal about our guests. Mike loves to work on his Peloton and reads books. And ideal Friday night, as he was telling me, Peloton, sushi, and couch.
Yes, I'm pretty boring. Alexis can maybe validate that. But yes, that's my ideal Friday night.
I love that, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. So, Mike, let's start here. Family, responsibilities, a big corporate job, successful in corporate, and then how was this journey to say, I'm going to leave all of this behind and I'm going to start this coaching practice that I don't know if it's going to be successful or not?
Yeah, well, let me maybe start out my answer by saying courage isn't necessarily my strong suit. I think I'm a little more biased towards fear than courage in general. So it was a huge step for me. It was a really, really big step. I did have a great job. I loved my job. But, as you shared in the introduction, I did get exposed to coaching. Coaching helped me. And I very, very much saw, looking at the entire span of my life, how coaching was really what I love to do. And it's kind of interesting. So I studied psychology. I worked in a psych hospital where I learned to ask questions. Youth ministry was about building relationships. And then, frankly, 25 years of sales, the best salespeople, in my opinion, ask good questions. So I really look at my 30-year career prior to coaching as kind of training for coaching. But how did I jump? I would say the short story is I was exposed to it. I really kind of felt like, oh, this is it. This is the calling, but it's really scary. And I realized that during my career, I had always advised people that worked for me or friends or colleagues to chase your dream. Go do it. It's going to work out. I mean, I would say that all the time. What's the worst that can happen? It's going to work out. One way or another, it's all going to be just right. And I realized, holy cow, I'm not eating my own cooking here. So I felt convicted about that. And that this was a moment in life where I kind of had to be authentic and follow through with that and dare to take that leap. I also, a big part of it for me was I think my kids knew I had this pull, and I really wanted to role model for them. If you find something that you really love and that you believe in, dare to go for it. Don't get to 75 and look back and go, ah, man, should I have? So, I mean, literally right now in my stomach, I feel this coming up again. I mean, it was a scary jump. I think my family and friends all thought I was a little goofy, but I did some homework over the course of years, probably 2, 3 years, got some certifications, played around with it enough to know that I could do it, gauged my network, spoke to a lot of friends, and frankly, I wasn't selling. I was just kind of going to them and saying, "Hey, I want to do this. Would you be a champion for me? What advice would you have for me? I've never started a business. I've never wanted to be an entrepreneur." And got a lot of good advice from friends and a lot of feedback that if I did do it, yeah, they would probably be clients themselves, and they would do their best to help me be successful.
I so appreciate what you're sharing here. So, first of all, for me, the highlight, there is a true passion around this work. You wanted to do this. There was a pull here. Yes, you were successful in your corporate career, but there was a purpose around coaching. You saw a purpose around executive coaching that it's almost like you had to do it. It's a part of who you are, and not doing it would not even be a good message that you would be sending to your kids. I appreciate that. And the other thing that I appreciate here is that you didn't simply jump. You did your homework, you prepared,
Yeah.
you got your training, you got your certification. Mike is now a PCC coach. So there were some preparations that you did prior to jumping. And I believe that perhaps gave you the enough support to have the courage to do it.
Yeah, for sure. It was not a knee-jerk decision at all. When I made the jump, I had one kid going to Notre Dame, quite frankly, so it was not a cheap tuition bill, and I had 3 kids behind her that still would be going. So, and I'm not independently wealthy. It had to work. I definitely gauged that success, and I felt like the odds were in my favor, and that I had enough of a runway that if it was clear out of the gate it wasn't going to work, I could pivot to a plan B. But I want to tap into something you said, and that was in my corporate career seeing a value for this. That was definitely part of it. I can think of individuals that I worked with that I know wanted to get better and wanted to improve their leadership and wanted to have more fun and wanted it to be more fulfilling and impactful. But they just weren't ever given the investment or the opportunity, or they didn't have managers who were pouring into them in that way. And these are people who have a very, very large impact on tens, hundreds, thousands of people. And I just so fundamentally believe that these are people of great influence who often want to get better, but they don't have the opportunity or the resources. And that's kind of what I have an opportunity to walk alongside them with and help. And again, it's very much about them finding more joy in their work, because I believe that if they're finding more joy and they're more confident and they know that they're doing a good job, the performance is going to kick off that. That's going to happen.
Again, like you saw the value of it, you knew the value of it, you experienced the value of it, and that gave you a passion for the work. You were not simply going to start a business because you wanted out of the corporate world. You
Mhm.
were successful there. You shared before with me prior to this recording that you loved the work that you did. The last year was very fulfilling for you.
Yeah, for sure.
However, there was a value that you saw that you really wanted to move into coaching.
100%. 100%.
And now you are super successful 4 years
Well,
later.
yeah, I don't
You,
know that I'd throw the word super in front of that, but it's working right now. Yeah.
it's working. It's working well. And so here's the question. What's the secret?
Well, if I'm being totally honest, what I believe is ultimately the secret is I think that God is blessing my practice. that might sound weird, but it's what I believe. And I just happen to be stumbling along well enough that I'm not screwing it up and I'm losing stuff. But yeah, that's my belief is that I'm just very blessed. And I'm incredibly, incredibly thankful for that. If you're looking for more than that and what I might actually bring to the table that sets me apart a little bit,
I'd love that too.
a couple things. As I already shared, I think in my career I had three different jobs that really trained me to be a coach. That taught me how to ask questions and the value of questions and how to listen. Also, of the 25 years I was in corporate America, easily two-thirds of that was in leadership roles. So I did learn a lot. I learned a tremendous amount. And as I work with executives, clearly I'm coaching, but where they ask for my insights or what my experience has been, I think I bring relevant things to the table that they can use. So I've thought often, could I have done this when I was 25 or when I was 30? I don't know that I could have because I didn't have the road underneath my wheels that would really make me of the same value to my clients. I also am just very blessed that I have a network that has allowed me to have a quicker runway to success here, not only in my professional career, but even just our neighborhood, my friends. I know a lot of successful executives, people who have started business or CEOs or executive leaders, and I'm able to tap into them, not only from a business development standpoint, but even just how do I run a business? Because, as I said, being an entrepreneur really wasn't my skill set or what I had dreamed of. So I think that experience in my career, my network, there clearly was a need to succeed once again. Like I needed this to work or I needed to get out of it quickly. So there's just a grinding element that plays into that. And then finally, I would assume that there's an element of passion that has helped me be successful. That the clients that I speak with from a prospecting standpoint, the clients that I work with, they know that I really believe in this and that I'm passionate about it and that I'm investing in my skills and that I really believe in them and I want to help them. So I got to believe that comes through and has been part of the recipe for whatever success I've had.
I cannot emphasize that more. The firm belief that what we do as coaches and what coaching is a tremendous, powerful tool. That belief, that passion in it is, to me, paramount and crucial for a successful coach. This is not just something that you're doing because you wanted a way out, as I said before, but it's something that you believe in. And it's almost like it feels like the way you're describing now, it almost feels like it's your mission. It's like
Yeah,
there is
100%. Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
so powerful.
Yeah, I remember, when I worked in youth ministry at a church. It was a great experience, great church. The senior pastor was awesome. But I learned about a year and a half in what it means when they say that you're called to be a minister. And I was not called to be a minister because there were mornings I got up and it just wasn't, I wasn't passionate about it. And I feel like if we want to use that terminology, yeah, I feel called to this. I feel like, as we said at the beginning, it's the intersection of what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, and what I think is a need in the world.
I truly believe that this is a key ingredient to your success and a key ingredient to any coach's success, a true belief and passion for this work. Because this is not for the fainted hearted.
No,
And
no.
to lift this up and put this rocket in orbit, it requires that element of passion. But I also want to emphasize what you said before. You tapped into your network. You didn't leave your network behind. You didn't sever your connections from your quote unquote past life, but you incorporated that, and actually it feels like that your coaching practice is an evolution of
Mhm.
your professional life. You talk about your psychology, your youth ministry, your sales
Yeah,
background, and it brought you here
yeah,
to this moment.
for sure.
What would be suggestions that you would like to give to someone considering that jump and starting a coaching business?
Well, probably the first thing that comes to mind kind of plays off the fact that I enjoyed where I was before. And that is make sure that you're running to something and not just running away from something if you're trying to be an entrepreneur. Like, again, I didn't really have a desire to be an entrepreneur. I just knew I wanted to coach. And I do think there is a fair amount of people that I run into professionally who are looking to do something similar, but I feel like it's more a running away thing. And I'm just concerned for them that that's not going to tee them up for the fun and the joy in their work, and the related success that they might get if they were running to something instead of running away from something.
And the hardships too, because like it's not always
No.
a bed of roses. And when the hardships are coming, if we don't have that passion, it gets hard. It gets harder.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to be very resilient. You got to be very resilient mentally, emotionally, physically.
Any practical tips?
One thing that I think is important for me, and I actually spoke to another group earlier this week on this, on a similar topic. And we talked about knowing what you want, like why you're doing this, understanding the why behind wanting to start a new business is really important. And again, that kind of interlaces with don't just do it because you want to leave the current job that you're in. When I think of other advice, business development is the hardest thing. But I learned in my career in sales that to some degree it's a numbers game. So I would encourage people to just realize that, you're gonna have to put in a lot of calls. You're gonna get 80% no's. Know it up front. But knowing that can give you some of that resilience you're going to need to make the 20 calls in order to get the 3 conversations, in order to get the 1 deal. So be aware of that. And then, probably one other thing I would say is being open to growing yourself, and to exploring new talents. For example, for me, this whole resilience thing and courage, like I said at the beginning, I don't know that it's my strength. But this has been a really great exercise for me in that it's forced me to develop those things and to grow in that way. And another thing is, like, I never really saw myself as really creative, but in this role, doing this and working with Brad, my close friend, and, kind of building some curriculum and some approaches that we use with clients, I've had an opportunity to get more creative and write. And I didn't know I had that talent in me, but it's been super fun. So probably another piece of advice would be see this jump in this new part of your journey as an opportunity to expand yourself and explore your own talents and what you can do, and really have an open mind in that regard.
Wow, so many nuggets of wisdom here that you're sharing with everyone, and I so appreciate that. I would encourage listeners, listen to the podcast again, because it's rich with wisdom here and possibilities, and reflect on what Mike has shared with us here today for you to create your own journey, and the journey that is unique to you, so that it's your business, right? Your coaching practice. Mike, thank you so much for being here and for sharing these thoughts with our listeners.
Thank you for having me. This is an enormous honor. I always love listening to your podcast. And I'm just really, really honored that you thought I could add some value and share something that the listeners would enjoy.
Absolutely. And listeners, I'm sure that Mike is open to listening from you. So his contact information is going to be in the description of this episode. Feel free to reach out, to connect with him on LinkedIn, to check his website.
Yeah, I would love to talk to anybody that has heard something that they would like to explore further, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you for listening. If this episode gave you something to think about, I'd love for you to follow the podcast and share it with another coach who would enjoy the conversation. Your comments and reviews also help more coaches discover Prime Space. Every follow, review, and like helps raise the level of conversation across our coaching profession. Prime Space is produced by Prime Coaching Academy, where these conversations continue through our ICF accredited coach training programs. Prime Coaching Academy, we go a step further. I'll see you next week.